Hey, welcome to another video. I'm Gabe the Animator, and this is Pro Tips when building a rig part 5. If you haven't seen my other videos, please do check them out. Alright, here we go. So I'm building the Flash here. I've got some parts already built for him, and I'm thinking today I'm going to do the abdomen and the hips here. Now, there is one thing that's really important when you're building a rig, and that is to make sure, if you look on your timeline here, you should not have any keyframes. Okay, if there are keyframes on your timeline, get rid of them. Okay, so you can highlight them and hit F7. Just make sure that there are no keyframes. If there are keyframes on the timeline, that indicates that you have moved something. Okay, so if I start moving things around here, it will create keyframes right here. See those little dots? And that indicates that the rig has not been reset. So you want to make sure that there are no keyframes at all. And if your rig explodes, meaning if things fly off into different directions, it means that you moved them accidentally. And let me just show you an example here. So this is a rig that one of my students was building. Beautiful character here. She's in the midst of building it. And there are no keyframes here. Oh, there's one right here. So if I get rid of that keyframe, I'm going to hit F7 here. And look at that. The arm goes flying off up here. And that is because the student drew the arm here. And then once the arm was rigged, moved it over here. So now, whenever you reset the rig, so if I reset that arm, which is this peg here, if I hit R for reset, it will fly off over here. Now let's just reset the entire rig to see if things fly off. So if you want to reset your entire rig here, so like let's say you've done all this work here, you can go into the timeline, into the node view here, press Control A, wait a little bit. It will highlight absolutely everything. And then what you do is you leave your mouse in the node view and hit R for reset. And look at that. The rig explodes. And you know, there's an eye over here, there's an arm there. And the reason for that is that because probably, you know, this student had, she was building two characters at the same time, one boy and one girl, from the same sort of setup, you know, using the same parts. And she probably at the time had her model sheets up in the corner here. And so now that we've reset the character, we can see that those parts were drawn up here, but they were moved later using the transform tool. And that's what you don't want to do. So, and we've got all these keyframe here. So if we just get rid of those keyframes, you know, it's a little bit of a mess, to be honest. So if this is the case, for you have to get rid of your pegs. So I'm going to get rid of these pegs here. And then I'm going to grab my black arrow. This is how you fix the problem, by the way. You grab your black arrow, you're going to go into Tool Properties, and you're going to make sure that this button is turned on here. Apply to Line Art and Color Art. And you're going to click on your eyeball art layer here. You want to make sure that that's turned on, and you want to make sure that these two buttons are turned on here, the light bulb and blue diamond right over here. You want to make sure that those are turned on. And now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the black arrow and we're going to press Control, and we're going to box select this arm. Now what this is doing is it's grabbing the artwork in all of these layers here at the exact same time because this is turned on. And now we're going to permanently move the arm over here. Now we can rig the arm because the arm is permanently in this place. So whenever I reset the arm, it will go back in this exact spot. And now I can put my pegs here. And I like to have, you know, go from the lowest to the top. And I also have this set up in the node view here. So I would put the hand over on this side, and I would put the forearm in the middle, and then I would put the upper arm over on this side here. And this is sleeve. so that when I create my parenting system, I can create a visible staircase like this. Now, I've mentioned that in the other video. I'm mentioning it again. Here's my parenting system. So when I press B to parent up, it will go up to this forearm. And then when I press B again, it will parent up to the entire arm. Now, one of the biggest errors that students do is that they'll just have one peg for each thing, but then they will connect the pegs like that, which means that whenever I click on this, it will grab the entire arm, and when I click on that, it will grab these two. But the problem with that is that if I just want to select this arm and not the entire arm, I can't. Let me just turn this on here. You want to make sure that this button is also turned on here, peg selection mode in the tool properties. So when I click on it, it's always grabbing all three. I can't just grab that one piece there. And that's a big thing that people who start rigging, they will do that. So you want to make sure that each thing has their own peg. Then you want to create a second set of peg, which will be the parent pegs. And then you can create a visible staircase like that, parenting upwards. So now the difference is if I just want to work on this, I can. And if I just want to work on that, I can. Right? And then I can also parent up and grab two pieces at the same time. So yeah, make sure you don't have any keyframes at all. And you also want to make sure that like if I hit R here to reset, nothing moves. And if I hit this button here, which resets the current keyframe, resets the deformer, nothing happens. There is a little keyframe over here. Let's go check it out. Let's go and take a look why there are keyframes here. That might be because I messed with some of the deformers there. Oh, nothing's happening. I think everything is in order, because if I reset the peg and I reset the deformers, nothing is moving. So I'm going to be okay. As long as it doesn't explode and fly off into different directions or change shapes. If things change shapes, then you might have to redo the deformer. Okay, so today we're going to work on the abdomen here. Now, you're going to notice that Flash has, he's got these highlights and he's got these shadows. And what you don't want to do is have the shadow, let's go inside here. Let's just unpaint this. Let's just get rid of the paint so we can see. Maybe we can hide the other pieces here. I want to see through my arm here. So I'm just going to turn some things off. I'm going to work on the shoulder there. So now that I've turned these things off, let's go turn off the chest here, torso. Let's turn that off. So let's go into the shoulder. I'm going to just unpaint that for a second so we can see the shadow there. Now, a lot of times people will put in the shadow in that arm piece, but it's not going to work if we do that. I mean, it's going to work, it's going to be there, but as soon as you rotate the arm, the shoulder is going to be frozen in the same spot and it's going to look weird, and also the deformer is going to break the artwork. So I'm going to show you what not to do. Okay, so let's go and grab the stroke, which is in the paint bucket here. Now the stroke won't work unless you press the K button to see the strokes. And now over here we're going to draw an invisible line here, and we're going to paint that. I think I already have in my Flash color here. I've got the shading. Oops. Let's type in shade. Let's make that the bolt. All right, let's paint this. Let's go ahead, grab our paint bucket, paint the shade, and paint the costume. You know, I can get rid of this invisible line I recommend that you get rid of the invisible line because it just makes the bounding box bigger sometimes. So we don't need it. So I'm just highlighting it and pressing delete. So now the shoulder looks like this, which looks really good. Let's put that into the color art. Okay. Oh, if you ever get these red markers here, that's just this button here, the inverse kinematics. We're not going to be using that, and just to turn it off, you can just click on the transform tool and it just disappears. Okay, let's turn on the arm again. Here's my arm, but now you see we already have a problem because I want the bicep to be in front, and now the bicep is hiding the shadow. And if we begin to animate, you know, the shadow is going to be frozen in the same spot there. And if I turn on the deformer and I start moving it, it often breaks the artwork on the inside. See how there's like a pinch there? So what we're going to do is we're not going to put the shadow in there. We're going to put the shadow in their own nodes, and we're going to use cutters. However, we're not going to do that today. Let's reset that arm. And I'm going to go in here and just get rid of that, or maybe just recolor it like that. So I'm not going to be talking about the shadows too much today. I'm going to just focus on the shapes and the line art. And now I would like to work on his abdomen. So the abdomen is going to exist in the torso. And as you can see, I don't have any more room in the torso. So I'm going to make that a lot bigger. I'm going to go full screen here, make that a lot bigger. And the abdomen is going to be on top. So whatever is on top, I put it on the left-hand side. I'm going to put that back here. And perhaps I'm going to create a new backdrop here and call this, you know, abs. Make it a nice color like that. I'm going to give it its own composite, so Control H. And I'm going to plug that in here. And I'm going to start building his abs. So Control R, or let's say ab 1. Come on. And I don't want to draw all of his abs in one thing, because then it's going to limit us from what's that? Let's hide that. Let's hide that. And let's give these a backdrop here. And let's call that the core. And let's turn off the core. So now we can just focus on the abs. So yeah, there's some shapes here that we're seeing, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 of them like that. And I'm going to give them their own nodes so that we can have more. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to cut it. And I'm only going to do one side, and then we are going to copy and flip it. And I'm just going to make sure that there are no hard edges on that. So I'm going to do this here, and then I'm going to grab my pencil. It's another sharp corner there. I think that's good. I'm going to grab my pencil here and just go like that. He's got some really funky abs in here. They're very complicated shapes, just to make it look a lot cooler. let's go into the tool properties here and get the center line smoothing to be smoother, because I don't want any bumps in the line. I think that's good. I'm going to cut those extra lines here. I don't know if I like that. Let's try it again. I don't want to change the design too much, but I think that's good. And then I'm going to paint it. Like so. And I want to make sure that I have the same line art from, or line weight from last time. So I'm going to come over here and check what my line quality was. Was it 3? So let's go back in here, select the whole thing, make that a 3. And the abs are going to look like that. It's not the best. I'm not even sure I like it. Maybe I'll use the pen tool to be more accurate. Polyline. Got the wrong color. Okay. There. Make that a 3. It's a 5 by default. Cut that. By the way, if you are wondering which color you're on, like you're going to start to draw and you don't know which color is actually selected, you can actually tell just by looking right here. And it says lines and it's black. So that's like the name of the color, and this is the color that's selected right now. So if I go in my color pot and I choose bolt, it will give me the name of the color, and it will, you'll be able to see the color. All right, I think that's good. Maybe I can add a little bit of funkiness to it, like that. Not make it too complicated, but it can't be too simple, because the design is just like that. There. All right, let's paint that. Okay. And perhaps the abs, I mean, it really does look good with that shadow there, and I don't think we're going to need cutters for all of those things. So let's just try it for fun. I'm going to do what I said I was not going to do and just put that shadow in there, because it just looks so good, and it looks a little weird without it. Let's go and paint it. And yeah, okay. Let's do that. Get rid of those extra lines here. That looks kind of cool. Okay, let's put a deformer on that, or let's put a peg on it. And because that's a fresh peg, we're going to set our rotation point. And I think that this might be a good spot for it. Now we can do that. Can do that if he needs to move that. Perhaps it would be better here. So now we can squash and stretch his abs here. It won't be too bad. And I'm going to put a deformer around it, and we're going to see how much it breaks. So deformer button here, go to the tool properties, turn on the envelope mode. And again, I don't want to really move the offset though, so the offset's going to go in a spot where it's not really going to move. Click, hold, and drag towards the last one. Click, hold, and drag towards the last one. And hold Alt to close it, and then go ahead and polish. It's never perfect when you let go of the deformers. Sometimes Harmony and you want to make sure you don't add deformers. I just added one by accident here. So you want to be vigilant that you don't add a whole bunch of vertices and make it all crazy. So like that, and then I'm going to pull on it. Yeah, you see whenever you have lines on the inside and you have things going on the inside of the shape, it will break when you're using deformers. So this is a real bust here. Like I can't use that. So I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to put, instead, I'm going to put a line on top of it, like so. Now if I do this, it's not so bad. We can warp it if we need to. And we can do that, and it's not so bad, right? So I'm just going to get rid of that thing there, and I think that's good. I think we have a good job there. Now we could do like a flip using the static transform, but to be honest, like it would just be a lot easier to just flip the artwork. So I'm going to create the ab number 2, or abs 2. Plug that in there, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to copy the artwork, Control C. So I've selected it using the black arrow. I'm going to go in here and paste it. It's going to paste it in the exact same spot, Control V. But here I'm going to flip the artwork. I'm just going to go to my tool properties and click on this button here, flip horizontal. It flips the abs, and then I hold shift and I use the arrow keys to move that over like that. And now we've got a perfect set of abs. I'm going to give it its own peg. I'm going to set the rotation point on that. So sometimes I use this technique, and sometimes I use, whenever I build something complicated like an arm or a leg or an eye, then I'll use the static transform. Now if you don't know what I'm talking about this thing here, static transform, and I talked about that in part 4, so please go and check that out. And here we'll be able to warp them if we need to. And let's have a parent peg for both abs. So if I want to grab both abs, I'm going to have a parent peg here. That's a fresh peg, so of course I'm going to set the rotation point, and that's going to go right here in the middle. So now if I want to flex both abs, I can, like that. Maybe I can do them individually. And when he's going to rotate to the side, we'll be able to hide his abs like that. Now, when we're going to do the rotation, his abs, I just thought of something here. His abs are going to look like this, and this one's going to hide behind it. Right? So like, let's say that one's not there, and then this one here, we'll be able to warp it like that. But I think that it would be better if we have another vertice here in the center. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to put another one in. And I'm going to put a third one right in the middle here. So now, when we do the side view, we'll be able to warp his abs like that. Oh yes, perfect shape here. And the artwork is not breaking to, oh look at that. That's gonna be perfect. Okay, so I found the magic formula. I'm gonna reset that and reset that, and I'm going to give it 3. 1, 2, and 3 here. I think that is the magic formula. Now it is really, it's very normal to re-rig certain things. When you are rigging, you're going to change your mind. You're going to figure out a more clever way of doing things, and that is absolutely normal. So don't get frustrated when you're rigging. Every rig is a little bit different than the other and needs different things to happen. And I always tell my students, if you are struggling, you're heading in the right direction. There are very few students who don't have any difficulties whatsoever when they are rigging or animating or learning harmony. So this will be like abs, master. Okay, so here are my abs. Pretty cool. Next thing I'm going to do is the bolt. So I'm going to hide that. I'm going to do this here, bolt, or bolt belt, let's say. You can't name two things the same thing. I remember I named this bolt, so if I do another bolt, it won't let me, so I'll say bolt belt. And I'm going to do two sides. Okay, so, and the reason why I'm going to do two sides, belt 1 and belt 2, is because when we're going to rotate the character, we'll be able to skew just that one side of the belt. It will look a lot better, much like the abs here. So the belt here, we're going to do the same thing for the belt. And let's draw the belt now. Cool thing about that, maybe we can just copy this and paste it over here. So I'm going to go in the overlay. Oh, I can't do it. Let's go into the color art. Okay. I don't think this will work, but let's try it anyways. Copy that bolt and paste it in here. And maybe I can flip it. So I can go my tool properties and flip vertical. And then maybe just rotate it. And no, I don't think so. But I'm going to start with that. You know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset those curves with the white arrow here. So I'm just holding Alt and, moving things around here. And this needs to be a little bit longer. Like that. And I'm going to add some anchor points just by holding Control. If it doesn't work, it's because this button is turned on here, the Apply to Line Art and Color Art. So this thing is either the best or the worst. So I'm going to go over here, turn this off, remove the paint here so I can see my line art, and I'm going to add some anchor points like that. And now I can be accurate here. Look at that. It's very satisfying when you understand how the tools work. So there's no curve in this belt, and we can add a deformer on it so that we'll be able to curve it. And now I can color pick from that, and I can paint it. And we can copy, and we can go into this one and paste it, and then flip it. Go back in Tool Properties, flip it, hold Shift, and press the arrow keys over. And we can see that there's going to be a little bit of a problem there because of the line art in the middle. So I'm just going to use the arrow keys here to do that. Let's make it a little bit longer so they kind of overlap each other here. And I'm jumping from one to the other by holding Control and clicking on the piece using the black arrow. So there's the belt. They each have their own peg, so we're going to set that. I mean, I don't really think that we'll be using these pegs. Well, yes, we will. We will when the character moves to the side. We'll be able to do this. Like that. See how that works? So let's reset that, and let's set the rotation point over here so that whenever we need to rotate it, we can just do that. And this one's going to go in the middle in case we need to rotate it. And it's better to go off to the side and then use cutters than to, you don't want to draw it at, this is what people do, they'll draw it to the very edge, but you want to go all the way outside and then use cutters. So that's it. Now let's put them together. We've got abs and we've got this. Let's turn on the rest here. Turn this on. Turn that on. Turn that on. Hey, you know what we need to do? We need to do his logo. I'm going to turn that off. And the logo is going to be on top. So I'm going to put the logo in here in the abs. So let's go ahead and go logo. Add and close. And you know, the logo can go into the composite. Like, there's not a lot of wires going on here, so but sometimes I like to put things that go together in a composite. Like the logo could go in here. It's not a big deal where things go, but okay, here we go. Let's go and grab our lines. We're going to need an ellipse here. And it's still not a 3. I really hate that. That's annoying. It's doing that because I'm on this pencil that's a 5. So like if I want to have one that's always a 3, I can create a new brush here, which is probably going to be a good idea. And I'm going to call this one Flash and put like a size 3. Click OK. Whoops, let's do that again. Let's get rid of that. Grab this one, make it a 3 first, then click this, then call it Flash 3, click OK, and here we go, we got a flash and it's a 3. So we're going to be staying on that. I'm going to hold shift. If you don't hold shift, you know, you're not going to have that perfect circle. So hold shift and then move it using the black arrow. Remember, you want to move things permanently using the black arrow. And we are going to need a bolt. I'm going to move that to the side so I can draw the bolt first. And we can use the polyline. That would probably be a good idea. And I like to do that. Because if we don't have this, it's going to look like that. It might be too thin. So I don't know. This looks kind of cool. It's a little bit crackly. And it will look good from farther away. So it's like I added those 2 little extra points there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to go ahead and paste it in the overlayer. Because I don't really want it to interfere with the circle. So I'm going to move that over here. And I'm going to need a white here. Just call it white. paint it. And then if we look at the two together, it looks like that. And if we go into his core here, we can see that there's no paint there. And we're going to have the same problem, like it won't have any of the shadows. So if we do paint it, it will just be like really red, you know. Maybe we can paint his core like a darker red and then have his legs on top. See how like his hips are dark red, but his legs are. So maybe we can play with that so that we do have some dark shapes. Let's put this into the color art layer. Hey, if you haven't saved, let's save. I'm gonna go back over here. By the way, if you like if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, share this video out there. What if this one was red too? So if that's dark red and his chest is like a light red, maybe that could work. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. I don't know. What do you guys think? There's always a way to add those shadows later, or those, maybe we can add some highlights on there. But hey, this is what we've got so far. And now what I like to do is I like to remove those lines. We can see the lines here. So we're going to use the auto patch. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, these auto patches, please check out my other videos. So this core and the rib cage, they're going to bleed into one another. So we can just plug in the auto patch in here and plug in this auto patch in here. And boom, the line disappears. We're going to do that with the hips and the core as well. So auto patch goes here. Remember our little note from last time, auto patch from other limb goes here. So auto patch goes in here. And I don't think that I have successfully put the, if it doesn't work, it's because you didn't put the color art in the color art layer. So we can see the core here only has the color in the line art. So I forgot to put this in the color art layer. Once they are separated, then the auto patch will work. And now look at that. It's starting to look really good. And I think the last thing I'm going to do in this video is the, we can also put an auto patch in here, in those two guys here. In the belt. So because the belt, you know, let's just get an auto patch. Put the color art in the color art layer. Same with this one. Okay, let's go grab a rigging tree here. Copy paste. Here's my rigging tree. But really, for this rigging tree, we won't need the overlay, and we won't need the underlayer. So here I'm going to put my belt like that and have my little rigging tree here. I might need more room. Gonna need more room here. Just copy paste. and then connect my belts in here. Need some more room. Maybe get rid of these composites like that. So now the belt goes into the color art and line art and the auto patch. Okay. And now if I plug in the auto patch in here and the auto patch in here, those two belts should match up like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this drawing here and just make it a little bit, I'm going to make it so that they overlap a little bit more here. Let's turn on the apply to line art and color art. Just grab these two things. Let's try that again. Turn this on. Do that. And now we can go into this one here. There is a little bit of a problem. I mean, it's this business down here that looks kind of weird now. Like those two things are crossing. So maybe what we can do is we can add another anchor point here. Just like that. So that they will blend in a little bit better. We can just try it. Let's just try it here. Because I changed the line art, I'm going to repaint this because I changed this area here. Change that area, so I'm just going to repaint it like that. Put the color art into the color art layer. And now I'm going to copy this, copy that, and paste it in here. Paste and flip. And now I can sort of match line it like that. Look, that looks way better now because they're bleeding into one another. See that? And the pegs are great. And I think the last thing I'm going to do in this video is use a cutter to cut this belt. So here is my the logo. Like so. We can do that. And the belt. So the bolt belt, I need to cut these two pieces together. So I'm going to put a composite in here and I'm going to be cutting that. So I'm going to grab a cutter. I'm going to put my cutter here because this is for my belt. See, this is for my belt here. I'm going to put a cutter there. And which piece do I want to use as the cutter? I probably want to use these two pieces. So I'm going to have to grab a wire from these two things and plug it into my cutter. So right now, here is the core and here's the hips. So it's these two things here. So I'm going to put a composite there. Grab two strings like so. And bring that over here. Now I've got two strings, one from here and one from here. And I'm going to put that into the cutter. And if it's not what I want, I'm going to double click on the mask. And then there we go. We've got the belt. And if we want to see what it's going to look like rendered, just click on that. It's going to look like this. Now, we do have a little bit of a problem. It's cutting into the black line, which I don't really like. So instead of just grabbing those two things, we're going to grab we could bring this cutter over here. going to plug the cutter over here on top, and instead of grabbing the two lines from there, I'm going to grab them from the color art only. So instead of using all of the color art and line art and overlay and all that, I'm just going to grab it from the color art. And I'm going to replace that wire. Color art here, I'm pulling a new string, getting rid of that. So now you see it's a little bit different because we're not using all of the... So now we've got a little black line there. But we could also tell Harmony that we want to see a little bit more of the black line from the hips. So if we want to see more black lines from the hips, what we can do is we can grab the cutter here and grab these lines right there. So I'm going to cut these lines out and paste them into the overlayer. And now from the hips here, I'm going to tell Harmony, I want to see the overlay line of the hips. I want to see that in front of the cutter. So here's my cutter. I'm going to plug it right in front, and now watch what happens to the black lines on the hips. Now it's perfect. Look at that. And we even have a little bit of a line overlap there, which makes it look good. So now if I want to move this around, it looks like this. Right. So I guess that's it for this video. He is really taking shape here. He's got some cool abs. He's got his logo here that we'll be able to move around. He's got his rigged arm. Hey, look at that. I accidentally changed the color on his glove there. Let's go in there and fix that and then call it a day. Boom. There we go. All right, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. We'll see you in part 6.